All right, and we're back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Buyers on Demand podcast. Today, it is an honor to be here with Julius Kutner. Julius, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, Sean.
Awesome, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you, man. Just from our brief conversation and conversations you've had with other colleagues of mine, I can tell this is going to be a good conversation today. Um, for everyone listening, any first-time listeners here, this is a podcast, and our episode today is centered around sharing marketing secrets for realtors. Now, that is the sole mission that we have because, to put it simply, there is in this space in particular, the real estate industry, there is a huge abundance of people who try to gatekeep information, marketing tactics, strategies, whatever, behind paywalls. Those are formerly known as gurus that people like to say online, right? Many gurus. And there are, of course, goods and bads. Like, I think it's totally fine for people to work with you one on one to help you do your thing. But I don't think it's fine to share store or to keep stories like the ones that we're going to have on this podcast and share tactics only behind a paywall. I don't think that is necessary. It's unfortunately overabundant in this space, and this podcast is one effort closer to relieving that effort altogether in terms of keeping things behind a locked door. Now, for Julius, just so that you're aware, I told you a little bit briefly about my story. I'll give the any new listeners a 30-second rundown. We'll switch to you. I'm the host, Sean Stewart. I am partnered with two other people. One guy, his name is Josh. Don't talk about him quite as much here because he's behind the scenes. He is my creative eye. Him and I started a media company 4 years ago, give or take. And that transitioned into us filming and doing photography for many agents here in the Las Vegas Valley. Due to health complications on Josh's end, we had to switch gears and go from physical marketing, so the taking the photos and videos of listings, to doing everything online. And to do that, we partnered with a third member, Tiago, who you've spoken with, Julius, who Tiago's specialty, he's worked with hundreds of agents when it comes to everything digital marketing related. And the three of us found, just like I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, this overabundance of secrecy in this space. And so we said, let's create a podcast, let's interview agents. I think it's better, and we operate with the belief that it's better for all of us if we work together instead of trying to compete one on one and keep things gate kept. And so, with that
Okay.
being said, Julius, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, your story? Because I know that you are on the newer side of becoming a real estate agent. So, a lot of this is fresh in your mind. So, take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julius. I'm an 18-year-old realtor who just got my license in the middle of November. And so I just always been obsessed with business, wanting to start a business at such a young age, and always wanted to help people, no matter what it is. Since I was in diapers, just trying to pass toys to my siblings, just any way to just help people. I've always been so passionate about. So it's just worked perfectly transitioning into real estate where I can do both of those things, be a small business owner, but also, help people as well. And I've recently just helped my first client buy his first home. And that really confirmed for me that I really wanted to stay in this business long term.
I love it, Julius. That like you're bringing in. I was thinking about it as I was starting this episode. You're bringing in some teasers for what's to come in this episode. For anyone listening, Julius is fresh off one of his first deals, and I'm really excited to hear a lot about that because I know that you are also doubling down on social media content. So curious to hear a little bit about that interaction, how it came, and whatnot. Before we get there, Julius, what I'm really curious about is the fact that you are younger in this industry, just getting started in a world where everything is becoming more digitized, AI, very future driven online. And you see a lot of skepticism in this space right now, where a lot of people are leaving the industry. A lot of people are saying agents are going to be quote unquote replaced by AI. What made you right now in this current time decide, you know what, I'm going to ignore all the noise. I'm going to try it myself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, yesterday, I think I saw someone post online that they used AI to sell they used
Yeah,
ChatGPT to
I
sell their
saw that.
house. You saw
Yeah,
that? Yeah,
yeah,
no, um, and to me, I mean, as like, I was just like, as demoralizing as it may sound to, real estate agents, it's like, well, it really is not going to be a problem to real estate agents who are here to build value and to completely earn their clients' trust and, help make this process smooth, right? And our biggest thing is to save people time, money, and also just give them the comfort of not needing to, look and do anything behind the scenes that, would make a person go mad and insane. So I I love, taking that burden away from people and just, just making the entire process as smooth as possible. So, yeah, I started working at a young age. When I was 15, I worked at my uncle's law firm. He had he wanted me to work there, and I've always wanted to work, and it was so I've always had that hustle mentality, and and something I found out early on too is like I've always said yes to every opportunity that presents itself, which is, was gonna be helpful later on. I wouldn't know it, but I worked there for 2 years and I was, like, completely burnt out every day because of the 9 to 5 grind, but, regardless, I just wanted to make money, and, so I worked there for a couple years, and it was when I was 17 when I realized I wanted something more my age, right? So a job more my age, so I decided to, quit that job and go work at the mall at, the biggest mall in Las Vegas, Fashion Show, where all the tourists go to, and worked at this clothing company, Pax, and, I was really, I hated, like, I was not so great at the specific part of the job where they wanted me to, be good at or do, which was, like, folding the clothes, restocking everything. But what I was great at and what I did excel at was, greeting people, talking to people, and that's something my manager, really, saw in me in that and instead she just gave me an entire new role of just being the greeter, and I'd come into work every day, and I'd get all the shifts just so I can just talk to people, which unintentionally, they would buy something because I was, giving them great hospitality, guiding them through everything in the store. So, and that's something I discovered in that job was that I love talking to people. I love helping people, and um, I always knew myself to be an outgoing person, just full of joy and just loving to make new friends in school and all that. But that job, doing that, right, made me realize, well, actually, I can be good at, and I can do that and make money too. So, I did that for about 6 months, and then I was like, this job's great and all, but I want to do something else. I want to make more money, right? I want to leave the minimum wage and do something that can potentially make me more money. So my friend recommended I do door to door, and the job was really easy to get, and going back to it, the interview when I went to the interview, they asked me, "Are you okay with, going outside in 120-degree heat and just knocking doors?" And I was completely excited out in the interview. They even recalled it. They spoke to me 2 months after the interview, and they were like, "You're like the craziest person we interviewed." We like you like immediately were so excited about going and doing door to door in 120-degree heat, like, but, that's why we, took you on and hired you, so, and I was doing that, and I loved it. I loved the grind, I loved the competition to get the first sale and I was selling internet too, so,
I was gonna
and
say
and
this is with Black Diamond, right? During this time?
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And, yeah, I was, selling internet and I loved it too because I was also helping people. Anything's better than Cox cable, which is what we
Yeah.
have out here, right? So, I was giving people, better internet services, which I loved, and I always loved the competition too. I was outdoing guys who have been in like doing sales for a long time, and I was the youngest one there too. And I got at the end of the week, I got like the belt for having the most sales, and just outdoing all, like I said, all these guys who've been doing this for a long time, and because just simply because I had such a love for the game and just the competition, helping people. It was a mix of a lot of things, right? And then that's when I was like, "Shoot, I love this." And then but then after the company had transitioned to, because we weren't really making a lot of money, even though the amount of sales we did, the splits were really bad. So I decided to leave to go do something, and it was 2 weeks of being unemployed, and I was just like, "Shoot, I'm on my own. I have no family out here. I'm just, I'm living by myself. I'm renting a room, so I'm like, I need to go back into the workforce." And instead of taking the 9 to 5, which is what any normal person would do, I'd instead decided to go back into sales. But my girlfriend's mom said I should do real estate, which she decided she wanted to get her real estate license, but she didn't have time to do it, and she recommended to me because I just love sales, I love helping people. And this was all in like literally, like I'm still 18, like I'm young, and I'm like, I have nothing to lose, right? So took the schooling, I did the schooling, and I finished that. I studied and did all that just to find out that nothing I learned in the schooling was gonna really help me to what I was about to get into, right? And so and then I went on a team, and I loved the one-on-one coaching that it gave me, and it was great. And but yeah, no, I did real estate because all those things I did and all the previous jobs I've had have helped me in some way to get to where I'm at right now. And each job that I've had has given me a new skill, a new thing where I could just be like, okay, I'm like one step closer to, achieving financial freedom, which is what everyone wants, right? So it's like and it's just learning more about myself along the way, which has helped me too. So yeah, real estate really just hit me at a perfect time, especially since everyone, has praised me so far for, doing this so young. And all I've heard is, oh, I wish I started real estate when I was 18 too. But at the same time, there's people who are like, who are also very, trying to be very demotivating and just saying, "Oh, get out while you can," right? It's like, like AI is taking over and all this. So, but I've heard it all, and I've been through so much where I'm like, I can withstand anything that is put in front of me.
It's an amazing story, man. Like, I know you didn't touch on it too much when you were talking about it, but hearing you speak and your drive to be successful, and also knowing that you haven't always. I mean, you mentioned it briefly that you're living, by yourself, but also like you haven't always been here in terms of where you're living now. So like as you're describing this story, I'm kind of imagining like this lone traveler where you're like trying to figure out the world literally by yourself. No real support system, you by yourself. And I as you're talking, I'm like, man, this could be a really good conversation to dive a little bit deeper into sales. I know we talk a lot about marketing on this podcast, but I mean, you are one of the few who I talk to that has this like extensive door to door experience that, a lot of agents are very fearful of, right? Because like
Yeah.
most people, especially now, like you go and knock on someone's door and they'll either say like, hey, no soliciting, or sometimes you see online where people are like, hey, you don't
Yeah.
leave my property, I'm going to shoot you. Like it gets kind of
Right.
crazy. So
Yes.
my first question as you're describing this is, can you tell us a little bit about, so you mentioned you're selling internet. Um, what in the world was your strategy? Was it just simply a volume game? How did you overcome the rejection that you'd find at the doors? Like, tell us more about this world of door to door, because I think most agents are fearful of this. So I'd be
Yeah.
curious to hear your perspective.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I think door I've tried a bit of doing door to door with the real estate, but I haven't really fully invested 100% into doing it. But with my previous work experience doing door to door, the biggest thing I've learned through there, I learned so much through there, and I loved it. Even though the company splits were awful, like you make a sale and like you get maybe like 10% of what like the company gets, right, for you making a sale. I learned a lot, especially one is protecting your attitude. I think, but yeah, the world we live in right now, like you knock on somebody's door and they get really mad, angry, and that's not always the case, and that's what like when I first started out too, and I something I had to overcome was that fear of, oh shoot, if one person's like this, everyone's like this, right? Everyone is gonna be mad, and nobody wants to see me, nobody wants me to and, like, bug them or, bother them. But so it's like that I had to overcome by just like, reminding myself that, like, let me put myself in their shoes, right? Let me if someone if someone was coming to my door and was trying to pitch their product or service, it's like what would I react? And I was like, sure, I wouldn't like get mad. I'd listen. So it's like not everyone's gonna be mad. So it's just like, you have to know how to protect your attitude because yeah, there's like every day there was somebody. I was working Monday through Saturday, sometimes Sunday if they needed me, and for 9 hours straight, we hit the field, what we call the field in the neighborhood from 12 to as late as 9 PM, and
Oh,
that, like,
damn,
from
dude.
from, like, s right, yeah, from sundown from, like, 5 to, like, 9, it's like everyone's like, "What the heck? Why are you here so late?" So it's like but it's just learning how to protect your attitude and, like, no matter what objection you get, learning how to overcome that objection by with a question or sometimes even just your at like you know if you just have a smile on your face, that goes a long way because especially through when people like see you just bummed out, like even though you've had a long day, just knocking on doors, if people see you like just bummed out, like with no like energy whatsoever, they're gonna be like, "Go away. I don't wanna talk to you." So it's crazy thinking about that. It's like people that goes a long way, just you being able to protect your attitude, being like, "Okay, that happened. Let's move on. Let's keep our energy. It's the same energy throughout the entire day, right? From the moment you start is the same as the same energy you should have when you leave the field as well. Just excited, ready to knock some doors or get some sales or whatever. And that applies to any business whatsoever, any job too. It's like you want to, protect your attitude and not let anybody, get to it. And being very, I'll admit I'm pretty sensitive on that part, so it took a little bit to overcome that, but eventually when I did, I started to see more sales, more production, and I was able to get consistency in terms of the numbers I was doing. So like I say, just protect your attitude and um, just being human and just being, relatable too is something else I also found out that was really helpful.
It's amazing, man. On your
Mm.
average day, especially going from 12 to 9, how many doors do you think you would knock? Or unless you guys have a quota, so you would know how many doors you would knock. But what do you think?
Yes. So, I mean, it was, you get assigned a neighborhood and, you'd have to hit at least we do laps, so we do 3 laps of 80 doors, so, if someone doesn't answer, you go back to that house, or if they say, "Oh, come back later," you mark it as a comeback and you get our little tablets, and, if they're not interested, obviously, don't go back to that house because you'll probably be you know, threatened or something,
Yeah,
so
we
it's,
beat up. Yeah.
right, exactly, beat up, exactly, so but yeah, no, 80 doors, and it's funny, it's, like, doesn't seem like a lot because now I'm hearing, like, with the whole cold calling is and that's what I'm trying to try out because I feel like that's more efficient in terms of real estate, and, what I've been hearing from the guys who've been killing it doing cold calling is that, they're able to knock out a whole neighborhood in, like, 15 minutes just because it's, like
Hmm.
and I'm like, "That's unimaginable," and it's like, I wanna learn the beast of cold calling and see if which one's more efficient. If the door knocking is more efficient than cold calling, and in my eyes, I think cold calling is better in terms of real estate. But I'd love to. That's something I'm trying to experiment sometime soon.
After this call, let's hop on a one-on-one because I can definitely give you some insights on that. Triple line dialers, man. I think you would crush it with some triple line dialers. So
Appreciate it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll give you some
'Cause
sauce there. That's awesome, man.
sweet, thank you.
Um, it's so cool, man. I love like, although again, this these episodes are mostly geared towards marketing. My first passion came in sales. Just like you, I started off my career before I was fully focused on real estate marketing. Um, I started my career off with Microsoft selling super high ticket enterprise software. So I was
Nice.
selling our average software price was anywhere between 500,000 to $1 million, and I was selling to like Fortune 500 companies. So similar to you guys as real estate agents, where you
Yeah.
know your average ticket size could be 500,000, it could be $1 million, could be or luxury agents, they might sell 10 million, $20 million properties. So um,
Exactly.
I get that kind of game, and I was during that time I was commission only, so I would work very huge deals for long periods of time. So I get that as well. And I loved everything about sales. Would just consume a ton of sales books, do everything that you're describing. Kind of had that hustle mentality. When you were doing this door to door experience, were you also commission only? Were you paid a salary, or how did that work?
Yeah, it was just fully commission and,
Okay.
yeah, and that's awesome that you said that you also did sales too, and it's like, yeah, it's, it's kind of a difference, but, like, yeah, no, it's like if n but at the same time, other people may argue there's no difference with it's like selling a pen or selling a house, right?
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
it's just a numbers game, right? And it's like the more people you talk to, it's like a funnel system. Right, and that's what I always looked at it as, like, yeah, I knock on 80 doors, I maybe talk to 40 people, and then out of those 40 people, 20 of those people and maybe will be interested, and out of those 20 people, 5 of those people I will get to like my whole pitch with, and they'll actually be like, okay, let me consider it, and then maybe I'll get one or two sales out of that, right? And then same with like, or like, and then now doing real estate, I'm just learning about that. It's like it's no different, but you have to like structure it differently because it's like with selling high ticket items, you're usually working with that person or business for a longer time versus me when I was just selling internet. It was like $50 a month. It's like I'm in
Yeah.
and out in like less than like 30 minutes, and that's a sale, right? So it's like, but with like high ticket items, and it's you work usually working with that person for a longer duration of time, which I'm now realizing with real estate and going into real estate, I'm like, shoot, well, it's not as quick or what's the
Yeah.
word? It's not as
Transactional.
it's,
Yeah. It's yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's
100%. Yeah, your
yeah,
sales cycle
hmm
is so much longer.
yeah,
Deeper relationships need to be had,
yeah,
and it's much more of a complicated sales process. So,
exactly.
totally agree on all fronts. And I love what you
Yeah.
said about the funnel idea. Like that's exactly, again, we don't talk enough about sales on this podcast or on my channel, but there's so many similarities between sales and marketing. They're basically just two
Yes.
functions of the same thing, and
Mm.
both those follow the exact same thing that you're describing, a funnel system. In sales, most salespeople are familiar with the funnel of what you just described. They have a pipeline, and then you have your leads, your cold leads. Some people are interested, some people you pitch to, some people you schedule an appointment with, some people you close. Same thing with
Mhm.
marketing, especially with your content, right? You have, for example, content that might get you views, content that might get you followers, content that might get you DMs, content
Yes.
that, and then from those DMs actually drive conversations, and then from those conversations you have maybe a listing appointment, or you have at the very bottom a conversion. So it's like the exact same thing that you're describing. They're hand in hand, similar, and I'm assuming you probably realized that early on, as you started in real estate. Tell us a little
Yeah.
bit. What's interesting about you is you have this super valuable asset or skill set that most agents are deathly afraid of, which is door to door sales at a high volume for a long period of time, right? Like most people do not have the bandwidth to take 10 to 20 to 30 rejections, or even just maybe 5 rejections. That might be too much for some people. Before we transition from your time as a door to door rep to real estate, because I have many questions there, what were some of the craziest rejections that you got during your time as a door to door rep?
Yeah, no, I've the craziest yeah, no, it's a rejection when they like they're about to fight you, and that's why it's important, you remain, the same or consistent in with your attitude, and you're always, just smiling, you're just being polite and also on all that. So if things like that do happen, it's like, you didn't really do anything wrong, right? They're just having a bad day. So, but yeah, no, like some crazy rejections. At one time, a guy pulled out their gun on me, but and I was quick to get out of there.
Holy
But
cow.
yeah, that's how they're not interested, but it was, people wanted to fight me, and I was the same how I am right now, like, just, like, smiling, just nice with them, so but it's like, some people are just having a rough day, they've been and it's too people, before I've heard, like, back then, like, door to door was easier, right? And door to door everyone did door to door, right? Real estate, you could do door to door, right? And it's like, you wouldn't have these crazy rejections, but and now it's like people have been screwed over, people been taken advantage of, and it's the people who've received the shaft who don't want to get help from people and just would rather do it themselves. So with those people, it you shouldn't like, just view them as like, okay, well, I mean, I'm not gonna make a sale from them, so it's like I'm just gonna go on to the next person, right? It's like with those people, they just need a little bit more time, you know, holding their hand, and, just like building back that trust or, taking that wall down that they've had for such a long time, just like a relationship, right? Because they've been screwed over by other sales reps. They've been, got into a long contract that they're not really even happy with and they're regretting, or the missus is not happy. So it's like those things that it's like you have to not view them any differently, but, like, you or just not try to avoid those people, but, just hold their hand, or keeping, um, what can I say? Just keeping consistent with them and, like, following up with them. Following up is really important, and just being like, "Hey, here's some information I found," just building that trust as a friend, right? And as someone, coming from a standpoint where I wanna help you out. So it's like, even if you get rejections like that, you wanna overcome that rejection with another, like, and turn it around and make it into like, "Oh, sure, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. Why is it?" And, bring up a question like, "Well,
Yeah.
why is it that you are not interested in getting a new service even though, these guys have been screwing you over? Is it like, have you had a bad experience?" Just learning more about the person really helps. So, and like you
That
said, it's just all about building relationships.
that's been my number one in sales for sure
Mm.
is there's basically like three to four things I always do whenever I get an objection. It's one, acknowledge. So acknowledge their concerns, their frustrations, address what they said. So repeat back what they just said so they know you're listening.
Mhm.
So just like you said, like, hey, I'm so sorry, or I'm so sorry that that has troubled you. It seems as though you're pretty frustrated with an experience you've had in the past,
Yes,
and then ask a question. Does that
exactly.
mean that you are completely closed off from ever hearing any alternatives that could potentially not be something like what you've had before? So 100% like you're saying, I've found that to be true. The fourth thing that I do from time to time too is to isolate the objection in terms of, hey, like especially when it comes to money or something like that. It's like, okay, it sounds like you've had a previous experience that has done you wrong in the past. Are you completely closed off from exploring other alternatives? And also, if this were to the price or completely free, would this still be something you'd be interested in? Whatever. So I've found a couple of those things to really work well, and I love that you mentioned that because I completely relate to that. I've found that sometimes when you take things personally, especially in door to door, you take the emotions in, you become a little bit more combative, and it only makes the situation even more intense. Now,
Yeah.
there's another thing that you just mentioned, which I think is super important to highlight. that we are, and we've spoke about it quite a bit. I don't usually do this on the podcast, but it's the reason why we wrote this book here. For anyone listening, we wrote a book called Buyers on Demand. It's because we are in what is called the trust recession, which is people have been burned before. Because you mentioned it in a sales situation on door to door, but this is the same thing online too. You can probably think of, for example, like 6 years ago, it was very popular to be a guru online and sell courses or whatever, sell things online. But people have been so burned by it over the past 6 years that now everything they see, they don't know if they can trust a single thing, which is why we wrote a book to help realtors get all the information they need for free. And that's why we do a podcast that exposes this kind of stuff because people are so burned that they don't want to trust anyone, and what happens is they do things the wrong way and ultimately just stay stuck because they don't
Yeah.
want to take that risk again. So
Right.
going into this conversation about trust, risk, and real estate, tell us a little bit about this first year. Now that we're going into, again, we're like halfway in the episode, so we probably should pivot to talk about real estate now. Tell us a little bit about going into real estate when you first started. What's your mindset, going into this? Should I, if I'm Julius, am I thinking, should I try to replicate what I did with door to door? Should I try to do something on, like, try to make content online to get business? Should I do open houses? What's your day one approach to get business as a new realtor?
Yes. So I immediately before I started, I wanted to make a roadmap of like I wanted to be organized and think of like what's gonna happen. What do I want done in my first 30 days as brand new real estate agent? I planned that out my first 30 days, a roadmap as new agent, and I was talking to my broker about it and like and doing okay. I want to do like door to door or and I want to do cold calling, right? My broker, I found this team online. He was talking about like, how all his leads come organically, right? My broker, he's been doing this for 20 years and it's a small team, which I love. It's like the coaching on the one-on-one, but he doesn't do anything like door knocking or cold calling. So it's like I was completely on my own in terms of that. Like I needed to branch out and find people who were in my industry doing door to door. So that's immediately what I did first was network because that's the best thing you can do, right? Is network with other agents, see what they're doing and what they're doing better. And you always want to find someone who's doing who's got a little bit more experience than you, right? And then replicate what they're doing. So, what I the first thing I did was create my social medias because I'm like, okay, well, social media is huge, right? It's like something I've never done before. I had an account where I didn't post anything. I just had it. Someone wanted to follow me back in school, but like, so this is like the first time I'm like gonna be posting and like doing all that. So I had no idea whatsoever. So the first thing I did was I just, got, like, my phone out and I went to do an open house that weekend, and I just filmed something, and I just because that's what my broker also told me to do is do an open house every weekend, and that's the one of the best ways right now you can get people, so I just filmed, like, myself not knowing what I was doing, but I was like, "Sure, I need to start posting." That's the first thing I need to do, right?
Mhm.
Secondly, I need to also, like, just reach out to my sphere of influence. I think that's a thing that a lot of new real estate agents, they miss out on is that, you know, your previous job, whatever it is, it's like, or your contacts that you've built out over the years, like, that is such a strong way to get that's the best way to get started. The first thing I did, my very first day and when I was officially licensed, I reached out to everyone in my contacts with the same copy and paste script. I just worded it a little bit differently for everyone. I was like the beginning, I was like, "Hey, so and so, long time no see. I know it's been a while since we've seen each other, but the first thing I did was like I just reached out to everyone and just same copy and paste. Told them I'm new real estate agent. If they have any questions about buying or selling real estate, I'd be happy to help them out. Everyone was like very, like I was really grateful. Everyone was really supportive. Everyone was saying congrats and everything. So, but like my first client that I got through my sphere of influence was, he responded back and was like, yeah, I'm actually thinking of buying my first place and can you help me out? So That was great, but that didn't happen until a few, like, months after I reached out, and, I didn't think I was gonna hear back from him, but that was with everyone, but like we were talking about earlier, it's a numbers game, so it's like I just reached out to everyone in my sphere of influence and told them I'm a brand new real estate agent, created my social media accounts, and, started, making sure my calendar was, like, booked because I didn't wanna be like, I just paid a bunch of money for my real estate fees and all that, so I'm like, I didn't wanna just have all that money go to waste. I wanna get out. I'm excited. Wanna
Mhm,
do a bunch of things as much as I can right now,
mhm.
right? But avoid burnout, obviously. But yeah, no, I did that, made sure to schedule, and then I learned about how I can help people with leases too, and, I didn't know I could do that. I thought I was just able to help people with, buying and selling, real estate, but I later found out, like, oh, yeah, no, I can earn, a couple $100 just getting people into a lease, right? So, I started, messaging a bunch of property managers, just asking them, "Hey, I know you guys are extremely busy. Is there anyone that wants to request to see one of your guys' properties? And if so, I can go show them the home. And then if they like it, then cool. Then they just write my name down as the agent who showed them the property. Or if not, then I'll show them other rental properties. But that I was just like, I was just trying to be as proactive as possible and just think about all the ways where I can build a pipeline, like with renters or with the open houses.
And I love that you said that because I talked to an agent, I want to say about 3 weeks ago. Oh, she
But
was on the podcast. Awesome, awesome agent. And she goes by the leasing queen. And
mm,
that's what she does. She did like 34 leases in the past 3 months or something. I can't remember what the timeline
yeah,
was, but it was, um, she was like, yeah, she used to be in the police force, and she moved to an entirely new area because her husband moved for work, and she has 3 kids, and so new area, completely new career, no sphere of influence in her new area. She was like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? And so she just started, just like you were saying, talking to property management companies, started to do leases, and that was a way for her to build up the reps, the experience, the obviously give her some income to sustain herself. And when she started doing a ton of leases, she also started to get more people that were interested in buying, because what happens with these renters is that in 12 months, 24 months, a lot of times they might come back to her, and that was her experience. They would come back to her and say, hey, I'm ready to buy now. Like I was renting, I'm ready to I've been able to save up, and I'm ready to buy my first property, whatever the case is. So really cool, man. Really cool story. And it sounds like what you're saying about the open houses, that strategy, when you were saying, like, I don't know how popular it is, pretty much every realtor that I've talked to so far implements that to some degree. Open houses, what I've learned, my whole family, by the way, they're all realtors. And so
oh, really?
what
You
I've heard my whole life is two sides that I also see on social media. My my mom's side of the family, because again, everyone, like mom, grandma, sister, aunt, uncle, blah 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 blah. Not my sister, but everyone else besides my sister are realtors. Same thing on my dad's side. Mom's side is more so like anti open house. Dad's side is
Yeah,
very pro open house, and
I love it.
both have their pros and cons. Obviously, like um, some people say like, hey, I find better use of my time in other areas. But what I've heard more and more frequently now, because we're in the social media age, is a lot of realtors are trying to find as many open houses as possible, because they can basically leverage two things. One is you can get maybe new influx in your pipeline by new people coming to the house, but also two, you can leverage that time where if the open house is empty, you can get a ton of content, which then can get you more business. And then the third thing that I've heard from some realtors on the podcast is that during this time when you're at the open house, if nobody's there, you can get content. So you have, first off, these two channels. The third is you can also go door to door, like how your experience lends to, and tell people, hey, by the way, I have an open house just down the street. In case anyone's interested in buying or selling, you should come check this out. And
Yeah.
so there's basically like three things that I've heard on the podcast that are all kind of centered around open houses that lend me to a lot of the realtors that I talk to from a day to day that are just starting out. That's like one of the first things I say is like, you should definitely try open houses. Try to do as many of
Yeah.
them as possible a week, because it seems like they have one of like the highest leverage in terms of outreach strategies that you could do. So that's awesome, man. What is
It
your
does.
what is your strategy? We talked about day one, and by the way, before I even ask your strategy now, what was your relationship with this point of contact that you found from your CRM?
So I met him actually, yeah, at like when I was just at like one of the, like the like casinos or something. We were just like he was like working there and I just like said, "Hey, can I get your like your contact and whatnot?" So, you know, we got each other's Instagrams and like, I just but like yeah, it's been like, a thing about me is, like, I try to, like, network with, like, as much people as possible, so, like, everyone I meet, I just, like, try to get, like, people's contacts, right? Even before real estate, right? So, I can, like, see if they're interested in or if they qualify for better internet, right? So, it's like, but, yeah, he was just working at like, a casino one day, and he was just like, we were chatting and then like, yeah, so but like, yeah, no, I reached out to him when I became a real estate agent and, told him I'm a realtor now. So but yeah, no, he was, he's 24 and he's like looking to buy his first place, and we were like, okay, well, here's what I can do, right? Then let's do a buyer's consultation, see what you like. So this is gonna cost nothing, right? It's
Sure.
just saying what you want in a house, right? How many bedrooms, obviously, all the little things, right? And if you got time and your free time when you're off, let's go look at some of these places. And he was like down for that. So I met him at our office, before all this happened too. Was like when he reached out to me, I told my broker about it because, you know, essentially like, like I was saying before, like your schooling, as informative as it is, like, yeah, I know all about air rights and mortgages. It's like, I have nothing that I've learned from school really helps me on my everyday in my career. But, essentially I'm just like relying on like my brokerage, which I'm really grateful for that I joined the team because being on a team, I get that one-on-one, mentorship. And my
Mhm.
broker was really just holding my hand so I can hold my client's hand, it's like so
Mhm.
I can really best help him and not, fuck up or make any mistakes, right? He was telling me, yeah, just, just have a normal conversation with him, just like be like, completely transparent, just, ask him what his needs are, what his wants are, and yeah, make sure, you sign all the proper paperwork because you don't want to get in trouble for not signing the correct paperwork. So it's like all that, and then like so he finally comes to the office. I talk to him and I'm like I tell him like, oh, I'm surprised you reached out back to me because I was just, like, sending that text to, like, everyone and seeing, like, if anybody wanted to pretty much, like, yeah, like, was interested in learning more about real estate. So, yeah, he was like, "Yeah, no, actually, I've been thinking about it for a long time. I wanted, like, that freedom for a while now. I want to have my own place." And I was, like, telling him all about the benefits, like, how we can like, use this property as his first, right? Yeah, obviously just a starter home until he can get a few other properties, sell those properties when he needs the cash, right? So it's like it's the I think like yeah, like the biggest leverage in real estate is, not having one but multiple assets. And so I was nervous because it's like, I've been helping renters from the time being, but I'm like, shoot, like, if this actually goes through, if like, if we are both on the same page, like I'm gonna be helping, my clients like I'm gonna be helping my client with like the biggest purchase of his life. He tells me everything he wants. So right, he's not looking for much. He's not picky. So I'm like, okay, you want something, in Henderson, let's find something the cheapest, property in this community that is gonna, like increase in value, you know, and then you're also gonna see a big ROI. And I was sending him a few properties and we only looked at properties for a few weeks and you know and it was funny the property that we closed on wasn't even one we were planning on seeing, but his parents were there and they were like, "Oh, I see that house has a lockbox on it. So I checked our MLS and I see that it's actually listed for sale. So, uh, I'm like, "Oh, hey, let's go see it. It's, vacant right now." So we go look at the property, and, his family falls in love with it, he falls in love with it, and he gets that, what I call, like, revelation, and he gets that, like, "This is the one, right? This is." And I feel like, with a lot of buyers, it's like that, where they, find a property and they know it's the one, and they, like, really want this one, so it's like so, we found the property, and, like, we, like, later negotiated on it and everything. It was emotional for sure for both of us, 'cause then I was like, "Dang," I was like, "Shit, this is his first his biggest purchase," and it's like, I wanna make sure this whole process is smooth, you know? He had a sucky lender, so his lender wasn't doing too good, so, he was charging him money for, just useless appraisals that weren't even making sense, so we got him a better lender, and, yeah, it was easy. We were just, making sure we get till closing and nothing crazy happens, right?
That's awesome, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
you helped change his life forever. So
Yes. Yeah.
I everyone that I've talked to on this podcast has said something similar, where it's like, I love that I could be in a career where I can directly have an impact in a change in someone's life. That is, that drastic. Like, you are literally taking someone who's dreamed of living on their own to now them fulfilling their dream of,
Worth.
one day being able to provide for themselves. So that's awesome,
Yeah.
man. Congratulations. As
Thank
we
you.
end off our episode today, tell us a little bit. We've talked about you leading up to this. My last question for you, Julius, is what is, I asked you about your day one strategy. What is your strategy as of today to get new business, and what are you hoping to achieve in the future here?
Yes, I think, just filling your time up with a bunch of different things is really beneficial for any new real estate agent that's just starting up and is just starting out. I think that, like, especially with open houses, like what we were talking about earlier, like, if there's, like, just a moment of, dead silence where there's just, like, nobody coming in the open house, that's the perfect time to hop on the phone, start dialing. I haven't done that yet. I'm looking to get started, I or, like, shooting some content. Um, this career, I've found out really soon that it's something that you can reap a lot of rewards from it if you put in the work, and by putting in the work, meaning, like, you're not gonna get that freedom you had before of 9 to 5, where that, after 5 o'clock, you have all that time for yourself. Like, this is a time where this is the career where you're always trying to find, time to, do something, right? Do something proactive to get your next, deal. Like, I've heard so many times, like, you're as good as your last deal, right? So it's like, you wanna make sure that, you find something in the pipeline to, and, like, before you close your first deal or a deal, you wanna make sure you already have the next one rolling, the next ball rolling, and make sure that you find, someone to help next, so you're not just like, "Oh, what do I do now?" You know? It's like, yeah, but yeah, I think that the best strategy that I've learned early on is just, yeah, like, filling your time up with as many things as possible, and being just, yeah, just doing as many things as you can to, attract business, as I see it. And, what I've learned from my previous career is just, like, of doing door to door, is just like energy. It's like, I'm a strong believer in energy, and the energy you put out is what you'll, like, receive in return. So if put yourself into doing as many opportunities as possible, and, those opportunities, like, we were talking about before, the funnel system, you'll eventually find something in return. So filling your time up with as many activities as possible really helps.
That's awesome. Thank you, man. Thank you for that. Anything else that you want to say to the audience before we wrap up today, Julius? This is your time to tell us what you got going on. Anything in the works? Anywhere we can find you? Anything like that?
Yeah, no, I'm, gonna be doubling down on content. I have something big I'm working on. Content-wise with social media, since the moment I started real estate and started posting content, I'm like, I wanna find my personal brand, my personal branding, You see so many famous realtors like Trenton Miller. He's got the speed
Mhm,
tours. He's known for that.
mhm,
You got Ryan Serhant. He's known for $1 Million Listing. It's like everyone has their personal brand. Like you can like really use that to your advantage and get clients from that if you find something and you're consistent in that. So I've been looking for what's my personal brand or what I want to be known for or go viral for, and
mhm.
so that can attract business to me. So I have something in the works. So hopefully it will be on social media soon. But like, yeah, I'm trying to be very consistent in terms of that.
Where can everyone find you on social media to keep up with what you got going on?
Yeah, it's just my first and last name, Sean, Julius Kutner. So all the new real estate agents starting out, don't give up because it's a career. For some agents, it takes like a year to get their first deal done. But there's always a way to make money in this industry, and it's just by being the most transparent and helping people, you'll stay in this career for a very long time. That's what I'm
Awesome.
trying to do. Yeah.
Julius, thank you so much for joining us. And for the audience listening, thank you again for listening to the Buyers on Demand podcast. I hope you really took some value from this episode in particular. We went more so in a sales direction than marketing, which I'm very glad of, actually. And I think because of your current experience, you right now as a newer realtor, Julius, I think a lot of people that are just getting their feet wet in the real estate career will find a lot of current takeaways. So, thank you again, everyone, and hopefully we'll see you again next time. All right, everyone. Bye.